Oh, hi there. I was just enriching my brain. Today, we face a big crisis in our society. No, it is not how to best deport Justin Bieber out of America. It is, in fact, antibiotic resistance. But before we jump in there, we need to talk a little bit about bacteria.
Bacteria are everywhere. They're found on the highest mountains, in the deepest seas, and even on the human body. Bacteria are microscopic organisms. You cannot see them with the naked eye, but they are there, and they can cause deadly human diseases.
Now that we have a basic understanding of bacteria, let's throw it over to Ian, who recently got out of the hospital. Ian?
Live! Oh, I didn't notice you there. Hi, my name's Ian, and antibiotics saved my life. I got sick a few weeks back. My doctor put me on a prescription of penicillin. 2 weeks later, I was back on my feet and feeling great. Antibiotics, if you haven't heard of them, attack bacteria in your body when you get sick. They disrupt cell functions, like the ability of bacterial cells to replicate or their cell walls.
Wait, what do you mean by that, Ian?
By cell wall, what we mean is this outer layer of the bacteria. Now, when cell wall synthesis is inhibited by antibiotics, the bacteria can't really control what's going on in its environment. Material moves in and out, and this disrupts the ability for the cell to grow and multiply. The other thing that hurts the bacteria is when antibiotics inhibit DNA synthesis. For a bacteria to multiply, they need DNA, and so if the bacteria can't make more DNA, then it can't produce more copies of itself in your body. And then they get sick and die, while your human cells are fine, and you feel better than ever. So with that, I'll skip off into a new day.
Thankfully, all turned out well with Ian. But not all antibiotic treatments can be as successful as the Big Wheel family boat during shrimping season. Now let's take it over to Andrew, who has not had such a great time.
I've been in the hospital for about a week now. I fell while I was trying to retrieve my pet iguana Teddy from my roof and fell on some sharp metal. And now here I am. My doctors tell me I have something called MRSA, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. It's a bacterium that I picked up from someone else in the hospital. Unlike Ian, who was treated with antibiotics, they don't work for me. My strain of bacteria is resistant, which means that it has a gene that allows it to avoid the effects of antibiotics. Excuse me. There are a couple ways that bacteria can become resistant. First, mutations can give these bacteria the resistant gene. Second, the bacteria can gain resistance or resistant genes from other resistant bacteria. If you know anything about natural selection, you'll understand why that would give some bacteria an advantage.
The world around us is as diverse as it is large. And how do we explain that diversity? Through evolution. One of the principal tenets of evolution is natural selection. Natural selection is the principle that all organisms are in competition for the same resources. Thus, only the fittest can survive. Now, as the fastest cheetahs are successful at catching lunch, they will be able to reproduce and pass down their genes, as is true with the surviving gazelles. However, cheetahs are co-evolving with their prey. As gazelles become more elusive, the surviving cheetahs are thus better hunters. Over many successive generations, this will lead to cheetahs and gazelles to be on the average faster, as those that cannot eat or escape respectively will die. Now think of antibiotics as the predators of bacteria. When we use antibiotics, we are ridding our bodies of bacteria. However, some bacteria may be able to resist antibiotics due to proteins encoded in their genes, in which case they will survive and reproduce, passing on that resistance to the next generation. The worry with antibiotic resistance is that a bacterium will one day be able to elude even the strongest antibiotics, then reproduce and take down the world as we know it.
Alright, now let's turn it back over to Andrew. Andrew? Andrew? Alright, well, looks like Andrew is now dead, and that's a shame. But now we can look at ways so this does not happen in the future. So here are a couple simple ways that you can help stop the spread of antibiotic resistance. Number 1, don't take antibiotics unless prescribed them by a physician. The common cold and flu are normally viruses and therefore unaffected by antibiotics. Number 2, if you are prescribed a dose of antibiotics, make sure to take the entire dose. And here are the consequences if you don't. So when you are prescribed antibiotics, make sure to finish the entire dose, even if your symptoms are gone. If you don't, this is a higher chance of leaving behind resistant bacteria that one day will not respond to antibiotics. You know the movie Contagion?
Don't talk to anyone. Don't touch anyone. Stay away from other people.
It's mutated.
We don't want that to happen. And now let's turn it over to Aaron, a scientist working on antibiotic treatments.
That's Dr. Lim to you, Tom. I work in a real profession. Science. Unlike poetry. Come on, who do you think I am? My lab, we're working on discovering new antibiotics. And a great place to find them are actually in plants. Plants have been used for centuries in countries like in Asia and Africa as herbal supplements. And in fact, we've only exploited around 10% of these compounds found in plants. So in my lab, we're looking at finding new antimicrobial substances to fight bacteria. And these substances would target new mechanisms of killing bacteria.
My Nobel Prize-winning work focuses on cranberry juice as a source of new antimicrobial drugs. You may have heard that cranberry juice has been an effective treatment option for patients with urinary tract infections. In these types of infections, bacteria like to stick together and form what are called biofilms. Cranberry juice stops bacteria from sticking together and thus stops the formation of these biofilms. And thus, cranberry juice is a very effective treatment for urinary tract infections. Well, I've wasted too much time talking to you about my work now. I've gotta go book my plane tickets to Sweden right now because, well, of course I'm gonna win the Nobel Prize. Well, see you later.
Is Justin Bieber deported yet? No? Well then we can tackle antibiotic resistance. We have a chance to head this problem off today before these teeny tiny little critters become a big problem. But, maybe we'll do it tomorrow. Night.
One of the principal tenets of evolution is the idea of natural selection. Natural selection is based upon the idea that we are all... Natural selection is based upon the principle that all organisms are in competition for the same resources.
Similar to this, antibiotics can interrupt DNA synthesis and the bacteria can't replicate. That's not really similar. Why am I saying that?
Action.
So here, I'm sorry.
Action.
So we have two ways to resist, I'm sorry. So here are a couple simple ways that you can help stop the spread of bacterial antibiotics. So when you are prescribed antibiotics, make sure to finish the entire dose, even if your symptoms are gone. If you don't, this leaves a very high chance, a chance now to head it off before it becomes a big problem.